I guess the time is here to make this video about Marcus Rashford departing Manchester United on a season-long loan to the La Liga champions Barcelona. Let me know your thoughts down below of this loan and of this potential permanent move that could happen for him next summer. Be sure to hit the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe as well if you are new here. Now, I'm going to start with probably the main talking point for me. It's actually not to do with Barcelona and it's not to do with Manchester United, but it's to do with Marcus Rashford, and it's to do with the media coverage that he gets in the UK. Now, a lot of you might feel that because something is not directly made as a racial remark, or even just not in this context, but you know, if it's xenophobic, if it's a sexist comment, if it's not said directly, a lot of people feel like then it's not possible for that to occur. But it's very possible for comments and opinions to have racial undertones without directly being racist. And I've never liked the way that not just Marcus Rashford, but a lot of black ethnic footballers are talked about in the mainstream media here in the UK. Kobbie Mainoo has become a recent victim of it. Marcus Rashford has had a hit on his back. He's had a target on his back. Raheem Sterling, Bukayo Saka, Trent Alexander-Arnold, just to name a few. Always being made to feel like they don't deserve to be where they are, and because of the money that they earn, they should be humble. Listen, I am always of the notion that as fans and as pundits and as, you know, people who consume a lot of football content, there's nothing wrong with criticizing a footballer. There's nothing wrong with outlining what you identify a player does wrong in a game, or, you know, in a game there's a decision made by a player that maybe is not the right decision, or there's poor effort. I see no faults with that. But the second that mainstream media start discussing what a player wears and how a player dresses and what a player drives and what player brought their mum a house and how much money they have, and, you know, when they wear chains they look like rappers or gangsters, there are racial undertones from those remarks, and I completely condemn them. There's no space for that in football, and it's also the same in women's football as well. Racism is prevalent in the society that we live in, and just because you might not experience it, just count yourself fortunate. Count yourself fortunate that you don't experience it, because speaking as someone that's experienced it online and offline, it's not a nice thing. It's definitely not a nice thing. So I don't like the way that footballers are discussed, especially in the mainstream media. Now, I have no problem with people talking about Marcus Rashford's lack of effort on the pitch. You know, there was times where he's been seen jogging, walking, not tracking back, etc. But to say that a player shouldn't drive the car that they drive because there's people that are their fans that probably can't afford to even have that car, let alone to have their bills paid. Listen, Marcus Rashford, for me, for what he's done off the pitch, if you're not from the UK, he's done a lot. He's done a lot, and that is how you use your position of power. Marcus Rashford saw injustice happening, and it sunk with him. He felt it because he's been in that position before, and I respect him a lot for that, because he is someone in a position of power, a position of great influence and money, and he saw something that once upon a time was him, and he chose to take an action against it. A lot of people become these superstars that get access to fame and fortune and tend to forget where they came from, but Marcus Rashford never did that. But let's talk about the real thing, which is football. Marcus Rashford goes out on loan, another loan spell for Manchester United, but this time it's his desired loan spell. It's Barcelona. He's been wanting to go there for the last season. Now, I also think there's a lot of revisionism on Marcus Rashford's time at Manchester United. Consistently, bar 1 or 2 seasons, double-digit goals across all competitions. He leaves Manchester United right now with 138 goals in all competitions and just over 420 appearances for Manchester United. Top 15 goal scorers for Manchester United in all competitions, and he's edging in as well into the Premier League list as well for Manchester United. This is a guy that at his best, when Manchester United are at their best, is when Marcus Rashford's at their best. And it's very unfortunate that he's one of those players that cannot stick out in a bad environment. It seems like when Marcus Rashford is in a bad environment, an underwhelming team that's not performing well, he too becomes an underwhelming player and does not perform that well. It is very unfortunate. But what I have noticed that, you know, under Ollie and under Eric Ten Hag, hell, even under Van Gaal, and that was his early times at Manchester United, when he was performing well is when the club and the team were performing well on the pitch. But the second that you require Marcus Rashford to try and drag you through the mud, it might not necessarily happen. Now, I think we've seen the best of Marcus Rashford, in a Manchester United shirt. Next year will be 10 years since he made his debut for Manchester United in February 2016. And sometimes I think it's always about moments. This is a guy, Wythenshawe, Manchester United through and through, came through the academy. I would say in the last decade, probably one of Man United's most successful academy products. You've got also the likes of Scott McTominay as well. But I would say in terms of what he's achieved at Manchester United, and I know for me the story was never meant to end like this. The story was always, for me, it was meant to go on to be bigger and greater and better stuff. It was meant to be a Premier League title. It was meant to be a Champions League title. It was meant to be the greatest trophies and honours picked up by Marcus Rashford in a Manchester United shirt. But it's very unfortunate that it hasn't become that. I think we need to have a conversation more as Man United fans about why the Manchester United environment pre-Amram, I will say, so it's been the last decade or so, but why has it been in an environment where academy players cannot flourish? Academy players become unsettled. Academy players do not become proficient and prolific in a system for Manchester United. Why is that? And it's not just Marcus Rashford, guys. I feel like there's been a lot of players that come through Man United's academy that has not gone on to achieve much at Manchester United and then just go on to go elsewhere and do well elsewhere. Why is it that Man United's academy players are poisoned by that same issue that other players have at Manchester United, where the environment is not the right place for them and they leave and they do well? Now, a lot of people might think that, Marcus Rashford was a flop at Aston Villa, but I don't think he was a flop. I think he had his injury issues, but I think when he played, he made a difference. And if Unai Emery hadn't subbed him off against PSG, I think we might be having a totally different conversation today about this loan spell. I hope Marcus Rashford absolutely smashes it at Barcelona, number one, because I want him to do well. I always want, especially like an academy Manchester United born and raised United fan, if that's you as a player, I always want you to do well. I wanted Scott McTominay to do well when he left Man United. I wanted Adnan Januzaj to do well when he left Manchester United. So many players that come through the academy, Ethan Laird, Alvaro Fernandez, all these players that have come through in recent years, I want them to leave and do well wherever they go to, because that is a staple of what Manchester United is. You can look around in Europe right now and see how many players in first team football, whether it's in top flight football or it's in League One or League Two or in lower divisions of respected countries, how many players there came through Manchester United's academy. That's something I think Man United want to brag about. Now, in terms of the fit at Barcelona, I think Barcelona is the best fit possible for Marcus Rashford, because I think Marcus Rashford plays his best football in transition. Manchester United, when they were a transitional team, is when Marcus Rashford was playing his best. When he had Martial, Greenwood, etc. around him, he was at his best under Oli, number one. Number two, I think having players like Rafinha, Yamal, even Lewandowski to an extent, will benefit Marcus Rashford. Bear in mind, guys, when Marcus Rashford came through and he was 22, 23, he was one of the most, I think, respected young players in Europe at that time. He was carrying Manchester United on his back with a bunch of other players, but equally his talent spoke for itself. Can he get back to that level, especially as he approaches his prime? I think this is peak football for any player like Marcus Rashford, because you got a World Cup on the horizon next summer, but also this is really your last moment, your last loan spell, I think, to prove yourself, to get a permanent move to maybe another big club next summer, or if Barcelona choose to uphold their end of the bargain. Now, it's a loan with an option to buy of 30 million euros. They will pay 85% of his wages. Manchester United will pay nothing, which means that Marcus Rashford took about a 15% pay cut to go to Barcelona. It's still a lot. He's earning more than, I think, the likes of Pedri, etc. 30 million euros as a price tag, as an option to buy. If he scores 20 goals in all competitions, that is 30 million euros well spent, in my opinion, if Barcelona choose to take on that transfer next summer. Now, it all is about if, but I think Marcus Rashford has to look at this situation like he's in control. That's the first point. I think he has to look at the situation like he's in control. He wanted this loan move. He got this loan move. Now, Marcus, what can you do to redeem yourself? Because it's redemption season for Marcus Rashford. And I felt like that in his first season under Erik ten Hag. He had 30 goals in all competitions, 30 plus goals in all competitions. And I felt like that was a redemption season because he had such a poor season before that. And now he hasn't really bounced off of that season under Erik ten Hag consistently. Marcus Rashford is in redemption season. Redemption season for England, redemption season at club level, and redemption season just in terms of respect in the world of football, because I think a lot of people have forgotten the impact and the influence and how good of a player Marcus Rashford can be in transition with a Hansi Flick high line. I think if Barcelona want to play him on the left, they can. If they want to play Rafinha in the 10, they can. I'm not sure where Dani Olmo's future is with Barcelona, but I know he's struggled with injuries. If they want to play him as a false 9 and Lewandowski wants a break, he can do that. It's a very interchangeable Marcus Rashford, number 1. Number 2, and whoever plays with him in that attack is a very interchangeable attack. They can switch around comfortably and they can all play off of different sides. Now, the one thing I will say Marcus Rashford has to be careful of, Ferran Torres was quite comfortable being a replacement for Lewandowski last season, and he did it quite well. If I'm not wrong, he had 20 goals in all comps or even more than that. Marcus Rashford has to contribute. He has to contribute statistically to the score sheet. It can't be, for me, one of those loan spells where you're watching and he's having good performances, but he needs to be getting goals. He needs to be getting assists. Because unfortunately, that's what people are going to look at when they sit there and the court decides and the jury is out on whether Marcus Rashford has redeemed himself or not for the last couple of seasons that he's had in football. When the jury is out and the court has spoken, people are going to look at the numbers. They are going to look at the numbers. Football has become a number-driven industry of recent, a data-driven industry. Now, 30 million for him is a good fee, but if you look at it on Man United's side, that's nearly 16 million in wages saved this year. Now, from a PSR perspective, from a cash perspective, that works for Manchester United. And a PSR perspective, I think they definitely anticipated having 30 million more or plus for Marcus Rashford. But if they can get that price tag for him, that means it's an overall kind of package and an overall revenue / savings of about 40 million pounds. It's not the end of the world. Marcus Rashford in this economy and in this state and in this inflated transfer market should never be going for that price tag. But it's the price that Manchester United have to pay for those extortionate wages that they put him on off the back of that great season under Erik ten Hag. Let me know your thoughts down below. Man United fans, how you feel about the loan spell, how you feel about Marcus Rashford. I never envisioned seeing Marcus Rashford play in another shirt, but I've seen it at Aston Villa and now I have to see it again at Barcelona. I don't know where the future is for him in terms of next season, but I think going into this season, there's not many players I think that got a chip on their shoulder going into the new season, but I think Marcus Rashford definitely does, and I think Barcelona fans are excited to have him. I think they're excited to have a good player that's good 1v1, that when he wants to be good at taking on a man, he can. And the reason why I say that I think Rashford will flourish at Barca on the left-hand side is because I think Balde plays quite high up, and that allowed last season Rafinha to come central a lot. And when Balde was not playing, you could feel the absence of him with Rafinha having to hold the width. But if that is another situation, Marcus Rashford as a second striker coming in off the left channel on his right foot will be a comfortable Marcus Rashford. The Barca fans, let me know your thoughts. How are you feeling about this move? He's been announced as Barcelona player. Number 1. Number 2, Man United give up his shirt. It's actually quite funny. Mbeumo and Cunha are both wearing ex-Marcus Rashford shirts. But yeah, Barca fans, let me know your thoughts down below. Man United fans, let me know your thoughts below. And guys, I just want to say, there's no room for racism, not in football and not in society. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well if you're new here.